Hey guys, it's Sean here with the Sean Daily Book Channel, and today I have another video review for you guys discussing the second installment in N.K. Jemisin's Broken Earth trilogy. We have the Obelisk Gate today. The second book of the trilogy, I will be doing book 3 as well. I have finished the series. This is going to be a pretty much full spoiler edition of the series. I'm not going to really do a non-spoiler. If you guys want the non-spoiler, go check out the first video and I'll give you a little blip, but pretty much just a quick one. It would be a dystopian world. We have the remains of a lost civilization with characters who have some kind of geokinetic abilities where they can affect the weather, and because of that, they are mistreated a lot and enslaved almost. And she tackles a lot of social cues and a lot of social flags, such as racism, sexism, transgender inequality, and a lot of other things. And she does it very, very well, in my opinion. So I'm a big fan of the series. I would highly recommend checking it out. If I'm making a review about it, it was good, usually. I will make negative reviews as well, but for now, we're in a good spot. So, book 2 pretty much takes off right away from where book 1 finished off with Essun's story. We are in Castrima, we are in the Geode, and we are talking with Alabaster about the moon. And the beauty of this specific book is we get to see Nasun, which is Essun's daughter, and her story of where she went after the events of book 1, where we know Jija dies, which is Essun's son, and Nesun and her father run away. And Essun's story is her chasing after her daughter. And it's a very, very difficult read almost at times because of the emotional turmoil you have, because us as the reader, we're like on Team Essun over here, but you see Essun through Nasun's eyes this time, and you get to see the effects of what her upbringing had on her. What it did to be raised by the Guardians, what it did to have that mindset growing up. Not being loved, not being that nurturing present. It was kind of heartbreaking to read that Essun pretty much did what Shafa did to her, to Nasun. She was more focused on protecting and making sure her daughter was safe, which is it's also one of those age-old adages that children won't understand what their parents did for them until they themselves become parents. And it's one of those adages, and it's very interesting. However, you see, it's very heartbreaking to go through that experience again. And in regards to, I'm going to talk about Nasun first, and then we will get to Essun's arc as well, because I enjoyed Nasun's story much more than I did Essun's in this specific story. I thought it was much more engaging, and the plot progressed a lot better for me on that side than it did over there. There is a lot of argument that this book was primarily set up, book 1 being intro, and it being very artistic with that choice of storytelling. But I actually really enjoyed book 2. Personally, I was a fan of it. I love Alabaster. He's my favorite character in the series. But for Nasun, it must have been so traumatic for her to come home that day. Like, the level of trauma that you have to imagine that a child has to deal with at the age of 10 or 11. Forgive me for not knowing exactly what her age is. That she comes home and sees her father standing above the dead body of her brother with bloodied hands. And to be on one side having to have this mentality of, this is pretty much my one real parent, because that's who she received the love from, but he's also someone who just killed my brother for being something that I am. And it's very difficult to comprehend, honestly, because we've all we've all heard this. It's in every single story pretty much. The death of a child is told to be the worst pain imaginable. Parents talk about how like children are, it's like having a part of yourself and your part of your body disattached from you. Everything that happens to them happens to you. You feel their pain. And to the level of hate that he must have felt for it to get to the point that he had to murder his 3-year-old son is a level of hatred and racism that's very difficult to comprehend, honestly. It's arguably, some may even say it's not possible. Others may argue it is. I kind of fall into that category of this is one of those situations that it's a problem until it happens to us. Very common, people's opinion of something immediately changes when it becomes about their family and them. So kind of a similar situation. I was very surprised by Nasun, and I understand it's a child. It's very difficult. And in her defense, she immediately does figure out, okay, I cannot associate this person as my father anymore. He's just who he is. So, and it's very, very entertaining watching her understand and learn, oh, okay, I have to put on an act. I have to manipulate him into thinking that I'm his daughter, and use that to my advantage to get to a point where I can be safe. Otherwise, he will kill me. And that was absolutely a possibility. And in the end, it does culminate in the meetup that they have, and his hatred for Ragas in the end does take over, which is a very, very difficult thing. And it was a very difficult read for her to have to, in the end, kill him. But you also have Nasun's story is also paralleled with Shafa and the return of Shafa. And oh my God, that first chapter, the second I heard, I was listening to the audiobook, and they use a fantastic voice for Shafa. And oh my God, the second I heard it, they didn't do it full. They did it like a little bit with the first word he said. And then he said, my name is Shafa. I'm like, oh my God, no. But you see the change in Shafa as well. So this was like the character arc for Shafa is also fantastically beautiful, where he starts comprehending all the evil that he did in the name of being a guardian. And there's still a lot of mystery about the guardians, and it's not very well explained really, but you kind of get an idea about it. And Nasun is able to find that parental figure that she's been yearning for, the one who's gonna love her unconditionally and still accept her for who she is and help her with being who she is, becoming the person that not Esun or her father was able to really create. So, and her story ending with Steel and coming in to convince her to destroy the world using the moon makes sense. On a very basic level, it makes sense, the argument for it. So I wasn't, all of it seemed very organized, very concise. I was a fan of Natsun's storyline. Esun, it's not much, there's not much to talk about. There's a lot of just sitting around waiting for Esun, Alabaster slowly dying, and them kind of reconnecting and consoling over the death of their son, over all their experiences, and kind of explaining what happened to the world is when you finally figure out, okay, somebody launched the moon away, which caused the rift in the world and the seasons and the anger of the earth. Which then, so what Alabaster's done is he wasn't planning on just destroying the world. Happy side effect that he was able to destroy the school as well. But this also allowed him to bring the moon back. Now Esun just needs to, kind of like a baseball, catch it out of the sky and put it back to where it belongs. Now, Esun's story obviously starts out, she's still that impulsive person that she always was. She is very easily coyed and toyed with and not very emotionally stable. She never has been really in the entire story, and it does lead to Alabaster's death. You can argue Alabaster was going to die anyway. Die is a question mark because you finally understand where the Stone Eaters come from as well. They come from the transition of power that goes through the Ragas when they fully use too much of their powers. It does lead to them becoming Stone Eaters. So you kind of understand, okay, the Stone Eaters were all those who were in the past able to use these powers, or just over time. So it is what it is. The end of the story with her being able to access the Obelisk Gate was very interesting, and then just casually committing mass genocide, no big deal. What a horrible way to do it, using bugs. Oh my god. The image I have of the beetles is the beetles from The Mummy that just like crawl into your skin. That was literally where my mind went. I'm like, that's what's happening. They're literally, she's gonna kill them all using beetles. It's the worst way to die. There's no worse way to die across fantasy and fiction and writing and storytelling. That is the worst, and I kind of hate her for it, because imagine dying that way. Won't be good. The story ending with her also transitioning into becoming a Stone Eater. You see the stony arms on her, and you see the level of power she has, which the magic system's kind of loose in this story. There's not a lot of, oh, why are you 10 ring? Why are you 5? You're just you. You were born this way. It sucks, or it's great at the same time. But that was kind of my review for book 2. I would honestly give this book like a 7.5 out of 10. Book 1 was most likely like an 8.5 out of 10. Sci-fi is not my strong suit, and this story is definitely hardcore in the sci-fi universe. But all in all, I'm a fan of this series. I think it makes you a more well-rounded reader to read these type of stories that are not really like Mistborn, straight up my alley. That is my type of book. I love it. This one, a little bit different, but I very much have enjoyed it so far. And I'll be back with you guys for book 3 and the final chapter of The Broken Earth. My name is Cheyenne, and this is the Cheyenne Daily Book Channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. It means the world to me. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.